Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Friday. We made it to the end of the week, and your reward is 3 hours of sports talk coming your way on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube. Our channel is at 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will join me in the 4 o'clock hour. And right off the rip, I lied. I'm sorry. I lied. I said the next 3 hours. In a matter of speaking, we've actually got 3.5 hours to hang out today here on 580 Sports Talk. And that's because we'll have a little bit of 580 Sports Talk overtime ahead of pregame coverage of Kansas City Royals baseball. The Royals are back. That's not a threat. That's just the truth. The Royals return to action after the All-Star break. First of 3 against the San Diego Padres tonight at Kauffman Stadium. Seth Lugo takes the mound against San Diego's Michael King. It's a 7:10 first pitch to account for the fireworks at the K tonight. So pregame coverage on the Royals radio network begins at 6:30. And, of course, you can catch that right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we'll have a little bit of overtime in that 6 to 6:30 window. And our typical 3 hours of regulation time, 580 Sports Talk, are jam-packed today. We've got 3 great guests coming your way on today's show. Very excited about this program, sending you off into your weekend. We will talk a little baseball. The Royals' second half begins tonight, and of course, this season is a lost cause. But that does not mean there are not important questions to answer for the Royals between now and game number 162, so that they can best position themselves to bounce back in 2027. We'll talk about those questions and maybe kind of nod in the direction of what those answers are probably going to be, but you never know. That's the beauty of baseball. That's an old Cardinals pitcher, Joaquin Andujar, said there's one word that describes baseball. You never know. Joaquin's English wasn't his strong suit, but you get what I mean. So we'll talk a little bit about the Royals and their second half, a second half preview, if you will, such as it is, such as you can preview a second half that so few are really looking forward to, given the Royals' current status as the joint worst team in Major League Baseball. We'll also talk some NFL today. ESPN.com has concluded publishing their top 10 rankings by position in the NFL. And last year, we took a look at those rankings and what it suggested about the concentration of the players considered to be the elite players in the NFL. There is a belief that the Chiefs are diminished in that department going into 2026, that they no longer have that kind of elite talent on the roster. But Is that what coaches and assistant coaches and executives across the NFL think? I think you might be surprised by the answer. Where is the elite talent in the league? And I found it to be interesting upon looking at those lists today for this segment. Is it possible that we're at a period, or at least into a season, where the elite talent is more spread out than it has been in recent years, or at least relative to last year? So I think those lists, obviously, they're great clickbait. They're fun to read and argue about. But I do think, in a sense, they are illuminating as to where the top-tier talent in the league lies. And the Chiefs are in better shape than I think a lot of people are maybe giving them credit for. So we'll get into that a little bit. I've got 3 guests for you lined up today. That's right, a guest every hour on 580 Sports Talk today. Bottom of this 3 o'clock hour, Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com. We'll get Matt's thoughts on, well, we'll see what we talk to Matt about. We're a week away now from report day in St. Joe. So we are getting closer and closer to actually having some Chiefs content. The winter of our discontent is almost behind us. But we'll talk to Matt about some Chiefs-related stuff, some NFL-related stuff. And we'll have fun with Matt. We always do. Matt Derrick joins us, our Chiefs insider, at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. At the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, I'll be joined by Jeff Bollig. He is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, which this year is inducting a record 32 people into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, including 12 posthumously. And that's too much for merely one ceremony. So the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame is having 3 induction ceremonies this summer. And one of them is tomorrow night. Negro League baseball legends and Kansas City baseball greats are going to be honored tomorrow night at the Kansas City Monarchs game out at Legends Field in KCK. So that's the first of 3 ceremonies, a ceremony honoring, among others, Silver Lake football and baseball coaching great C.J. Hamilton, and Topeka High graduate and Olympic track athlete Judy Dyer is scheduled for next Saturday. That event will be in Mulvane at the Kansas Star Casino. And these events are available to the ticket purchasing public. So you can buy tickets at kshof.org, or tomorrow night, you just walk up to the ticket window at Legends Field. Make sure you're there at 6 o'clock for the induction ceremony. Anyhow, with 3 ceremonies, 32 Hall of Famers being honored this summer, I thought it would be fun to chat with Jeff Bollig, the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, to find out why had the floodgates opened so wide this year, and the logistics behind 32 new inductees, 3 ceremonies, and some thoughts on the inductees with Topeka and Shawnee County ties as well. So Jeff Bollig will join me at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And then in the 5 o'clock hour, around 5:25, the World Cup wraps up this weekend. You know we had to bring on our soccer insider, if you will, on the program. Our good friend, former WIBW staffer, Paul Carr, soccer researcher for Fox and others. He's written about the tournament for Yahoo Sports. He is the senior director of media and business operations for True Media Sports, and he knows ball, football, as they call it everywhere but here in Australia. Anyhow, Paul's been with us a couple of times during the World Cup. He helped us preview it. He helped us talk through the United States run. And we're going to get his thoughts on Sunday's final match, the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina. So Paul Carr will join us at around 5:25. So 3 great guests for you today. We're going to get to some Royals. We're going to talk some football and our typical Friday shenanigans. We'll make room for those as well. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines. On second thought, we'll do Change My Mind. And also, what is wrong with you? Including, and I don't know that this is precedented in What Is Wrong With You history, the potential for an overturn of a previous day's result. We had the booth blew down to the field and requested a VAR check. If you've been watching the World Cup, you know what I'm talking about. A VAR check has been requested on yesterday's What Is Wrong With You result. And we may have an overturn if there's a consensus. So be listening for what is wrong with you later on in the show. You are, as always, encouraged and invited to make your voice heard on 580 Sports Talk. I want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe if you have yet to do so. There's no cost, just a click or a tap of the screen, and you can be subscribed to our YouTube channel. And hop in the chat and say hello to your fellow listeners and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. We've got Britt, Mark H., and Paul, and our friend from Overbrook is in the chat. Been a minute. Appreciate seeing you back in the chat today. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Plus, one more thing. Don't let me forget. I've got more tickets to the TBT to give away. The basketball tournament next week, Wednesday night, Lee Arena. JHX Hoops versus Purple Rain, Game 2 of their 3-game TBT series. A chance to see Michael Beasley, Frank Mason, and other K-State and KU greats lace them up on the hardwood at Washburn University. And I've got your tickets, so be listening for your cue to call during the show today. Might do a couple of different ticket giveaways, so be listening for your cue to call. There is Royals baseball tonight, whether you like it or not. The Royals are back. They've got 65 games left to play in the 2026 season. They need to win 25 of them to get to 63 wins, and the reason that's a magic number is because if you win 63, you lose 99, and 99 is not 100. And nobody, particularly a franchise that has just come off back-to-back winning seasons, which is not the kind of thing you take for granted over the past 40 years of Royals baseball, that is the kind of thing that you would like to avoid at all costs. Nobody wants to lose 100. 25 and 40 avoids it. That is slightly worse of a pace than the Royals were on in the first 97 games of this season, where they went 38 and 59, which is why 63 wins does feel attainable. They also play more home games than road games. They've got San Diego, San Francisco, the Cubs, the A's for 4 games, the Marlins, the Blue Jays, the Diamondbacks, and 1 series apiece with their divisional brethren, Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland at home. Their road trips left, 4 games in Detroit, plus other trips to Minnesota and Cleveland. They have made their last trip to Rate Field this year. That might be a good thing. They also go see the Dodgers, the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Astros, and the Pirates. I do think, and that's the first big question that you ask of these Royals, can they avoid losing 100 games? I think the answer to that is yes. More home games, and it would be hard over the course of a full 162 games to continue to be as bad in high leverage as the Royals have been. And they have been bad. They have been really, really bad in those high leverage situations. It's the biggest reason. I mean, you look at it, starting pitching has obviously taken a big step back from what it's been the last 2 years. And the offense actually been better than it's been the last couple of years. It's the bullpen. You're pointing fingers, point it squarely at the performance of this Royals bullpen this season. It started poorly. It's gotten worse. It would be hard to continue to be this bad. I wouldn't put it past the Royals, but it would be hard. It would be hard. So I do think even a slight uptick in high leverage performance for this Royals bullpen, a slight uptick, it's not asking much, but even just a slight improvement probably gets the Royals to the 25 or 26 odd wins that they're going to need to clear that 100 loss barrier. Is that the kind of thing you throw a parade over? Is that the kind of thing you hang a banner for? Would we even play Pitbull if they won their 63rd game on this show? We would do it. Any excuse to play Pitbull on 580 Sports Talk we will take, but know that we would be doing it ironically We would be doing it ironically and in jest because there is nothing to celebrate about only losing 99 or 98 games. I do think, though, that's where the Royals will probably find themselves. So what are the other questions that the Royals have to answer? First and biggest, aside from, are they going to lose 100? Are they trading Michael Wacha and or Seth Lugo? And the case against is, I think, a reasonable one to make. The Royals do not want to enter a full rebuild. That would be a huge disservice to Bobby Witt Jr., who promised you his prime years when he signed that big extension that tied him to Kansas City with no opt-outs before the end of the 2030 season. That deal was Bobby Witt Jr. promising the Royals his prime, and the Royals, in turn, ought to be promising Bobby Witt Jr. that he's not going to spend any years losing on purpose. As bad as this year has been, this has been a year of losing on accident. This was not a team built to lose, but a full teardown at the trade deadline this year probably puts the Royals in a spot where either they spend big in the offseason, which you let me know when a Royals team ever does that, or they're in a spot where their entire pitching staff is in flux going into 2027, and they do not enter the year as a contender for, never mind the Central, even a playoff spot. And I don't think you can do that to Bobby Witt Jr. I don't. I think that's a disservice to your franchise player. In a way, it's almost a breach of his trust as he enters what ought to be his very best years as a player, his late 20s, to say, hey, we're going to take one of your prime years, we're going to light it on fire, we're going to stink out loud in 2027. Nothing we can do about it. You have to at least try. You do. And there aren't any great answers for the Royals as to how to get better in 2027 that don't include either, again, spending a lot of money this offseason or not getting as much return as you might have otherwise gotten at the trade deadline, because a competitive 2027 Royals team probably needs guys like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo taking the ball every 5 days. So how aggressive do the Royals really want to be? And it's a fascinating litmus test for this front office. Remember, last year, they kind of tipped their hand, J.J. Piccolo and company, as to how they believed that they would handle situations like this. The Royals were a team you could have argued should have been a seller last year. Instead, they bought. Not only did they buy, they wrapped up Seth Lugo to an extension. They extended his contract. His contract would have been up after last season. He would have been very on demand on the trade deadline. The Royals could have pulled off what other teams, most notably teams like the Rays, have been able to do over the years and kind of straddle the line between buying and selling, and it might have helped improve the roster in the long run. You're certainly, if you trade Seth Lugo today, you're not getting nearly what you would have gotten for him if you would have traded him at the deadline last year. The value has diminished because he hasn't been as good. But also, there's an element of, hey, we really like Seth Lugo. He's one of our guys. He's been good for us. We went to the playoffs with him. Let's make sure he's taken care of. Loyalty is not a bad thing, but loyalty in pro sports can sometimes lock you into some contracts you regret. And I bet there's a little bit of regret with regards to the Royals and that Lugo extension because he's overpaid for the caliber of pitcher that he has been since then. But there is still value, real value, in a guy like Seth Lugo and what he can do. Take the ball every 5 days, give you innings. And he has the capability of pitching well. He's probably at this stage in his career about a good number 4 starter. You're overpaying for that, but there's value in having that. Michael Wacha's a really good number 3. There's value in having a really good number 3 under team control. But is there more value for the Royals in trying to cash those guys in and fortify a weak farm system? Let's just say I'm glad I'm not J.J. Piccolo and having to make that decision. What other big questions do the Royals have to answer in this second half of the season? Is there any gas left in Salvador Perez's tank? Nobody wants the answer to this question to be no. Nobody. I don't want the answer to that question to be no. You don't want the answer to that question to be no. The Royals would love to see Salvi roll back the years in his age 36 season, catch and pass George Brett for the franchise's home run record, and show that he still has some value as a clubhouse leader, as a bopper, as a punisher of left-handed pitching, and might be worth a contract to bring back and have on the team in 2027. It's what we all want. The stats don't give a damn about what we want. The stats say that Perez has been one of the least valuable players in all of baseball this year. They say he's hitting .209 with a .593 OPS. And yes, he has 11 home runs, but a slugging percentage of only .344. The numbers suggest that Father Time has taken the upper hand. The Royals have to be really honest with themselves about Salvador Perez this offseason because they can't keep him around as a totem. Particularly, they're going to have to spend real money to fortify the bullpen. They're probably going to have to go sign a starting pitcher. You can't replace the ace caliber that you lose with Cole Reagans on the shelf, but they're going to have to go pay somebody. Even if they keep Joaquin Lugo, somebody's going to have to join them and Noah Cameron in next year's rotation. That gets a lot harder to do if you're also thinking about a nice 1 year, $8 to $10 million contract for your captain. So the Royals have to be honest. And it's going to be a hard decision because, again, everybody wants the answer to be yes, there's still something left in the tank for Sal. But if the answer is no, do the Royals have the guts to say thanks for the memories and move on in 2027 with a lower cost option as the backup to Carter Jensen every day? And maybe that C on Bobby Witt Jr.'s sleeve instead. Or Salvi can push the sun back into the sky and have a productive second half. He was great in July and August last year, remember? Mostly July. About mid-August, he started to peter out, and then he wasn't very good in September. But if he can have just 1 month where he shows some glimpses, maybe then the Royals find the value in bringing him back for one more year beyond a nostalgia tour. Last question that the Royals need answered to the end of 2026. Is there a bounce back in Vinny Pasquantino? He's been really bad this year, and I don't think he's covered himself in glory off the field either. His comments in the wake of that bench clearing incident the day before the All-Star break, I thought that was really lame. I think that when things are going well, Vinny Pasquantino's a tremendous vibes guy, and when things aren't going well, he's obviously not the kind of guy who's going to get the clubhouse turned back in a proper direction, especially not if he's hitting 222, which he has this year with just a 653 OPS. But it's also true that this would be the first year in Pasquantino's career that he's been a below-average offensive player. In fact, last year was the most valuable year of his career at age 27. I'm convinced, or I'm not convinced the power is going to come back. I'm worried about that from Vinny's perspective because of the nature of the injury to the hamate bone that cost him time earlier this year. So I don't know that we're going to see the power numbers bounce back. I'd be surprised if he even gets to like 15 homers this year. But if he can drive the batting average up, and maybe it helps him as a hitter to focus a little bit more on hits and getting on base, getting back to some of the on-base skills that he showed early in his career, maybe that's a good thing for him to take his focus away from trying to drive the power numbers up. Because the Royals find themselves in a position where Pasquantino is going to be more expensive soon. And how much do you want to pay a guy who's position limited, not a great defender over at first, not a great athlete, might not age well, but has also been a big part of your clubhouse, a fan favorite, and an above-average offensive player on a team and an organization where those guys have been hard to find? The Royals could use a bounce-back second half from Vinny Pasquantino. It's not going to help them in the standings, but it could help provide them some clarity on their future. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. You can also interact in the live chat on YouTube. We got Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, coming up in about 10 minutes. Jeff Bollig from the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame in the 4 o'clock hour, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And Paul Carr of True Media Sports, our guru of minutia, to preview the World Cup final in the 5 o'clock hour. We are jam-packed today. I'm glad you're along here on 580 Sports Talk. .332 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting underway on this Friday. Again, a full lineup of guests today. Coming up in just a bit, our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick. Coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Jeff Bollig, the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. And in the 5 o'clock hour, around 5:25 or so, Paul Carr will join us to preview the World Cup final, Spain and Argentina on Sunday. Apparently, FIFA's convinced that the air quality is going to improve in the New York, New Jersey area between now and Sunday. And I hope they're right. I hope they're right. So, we've got a great big show for you today, is my way of saying that. 785-272-9429 is the text line. You can also interact with us in the live chat on YouTube. A couple other things that I think will be, because even for the worst teams in baseball, and again, as somebody who has covered the Royals for a long time and also growing up has followed a team that is not particularly awesome year over year, my own favorite team growing up, you get used to second halves that don't really mean anything, but could mean something for the future. So things worth keeping an eye on. Luinder Avila, he's going to keep getting chances in the rotation because there's nobody else. Is he a starting pitcher? Can he throw more strikes, be more pitch efficient, get deeper into games? Is he a guy that the Royals can go into and get cheap starting pitching ability from, or is he maybe a guy that it's time to think about moving to the bullpen? I think it was Royals Review, that published something about him maybe being the closer of the future for the Royals. That's not an outrageous outcome either. It'd be a good outcome, but right now he's going to start, and he'll be worth tracking in the second half. Carter Jensen as leadoff hitter. It's a fascinating experiment that the Royals have undergone with their rookie catcher. Is he really going to be viable in that role in the batting order moving forward? And once Michael Garcia comes back, then what does the order look like? What does the top of the batting order look like as you try to get more at-bats for the guys who are going to be your 4 best hitters moving forward, with your Garcia and Bobby Witt Jr. and Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione? And you can throw Vinny into that mix as well. Your 5 best guys. What's the best? What's the ideal mix? How do you work those guys in? And I have a feeling we're going to see some moves. We're going to see probably more position player moves than pitcher moves. Like Lane Thomas will go, Starling Marte to anyone who wants him. But there's a chance we're going to see some relievers on the move. Like John Schreiber could have some appeal. If the Royals are willing to part with Daniel Lynch, who has some team control left, I would make that move. I would take that call if I were J.J. Piccolo. Lucas Erceg could be a guy that maybe teams look at and say, yeah, we're buying low, but we can fix him. There's an element of that. You know, teams will look and see a guy throwing 97, 98 with two other pitches and who has had success and think, hey, maybe this is worth a flyer. But when those guys, when those guys in the bullpen move, who makes the most of leverage opportunities in the Royals bullpen? Do we see more leverage chances for a guy like Beck Way? Are there guys that we haven't even seen yet or really thought of down at the AAA level who are going to get a real chance? Or are we just going to keep seeing Jose Cuas pitch? Which way? I hope it's the former. I hope we see some more young guys get some opportunities and maybe show that they've got the chops for getting 3 important outs late in the game in a close game. We're going to take a break here at 580 Sports Talk, but before we do, I want to again shout out the good people at Calhoun's Jewelers here in Topeka. They sold me my wedding band and also my wife's engagement ring and wedding band, and I still fondly remember the process and recommend going to Calhoun's Jewelers. Cannot recommend them enough. If that is your need or whatever other occasion might have you looking to buy a special piece of jewelry for a special someone, they will make the process fear-free and as simple as possible. If you can't find the thing you love, they'll help you design the thing you love and will love forever. At Calhoun's Jewelers, 18th and Gage in Topeka. Our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, joins us next. We go to Kansas City on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline to speak with our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He joins us every Friday at this time. And Matt, 1 week from today is report day to St. Joe. We're almost there. We've almost made it.
Yes, it's hard to believe. I mean, truly 7 days from now, I will be coming in from Scanlon Hall. So all the, hopefully, excitement has cooled down. And hopefully my phone works. Inevitably, at some point, standing outside Scanlon Hall every year, it gets a little bit too hot. And the phone goes into meltdown mode and says it has to cool down. So hopefully we won't have that problem at this time 7 days from now.
One more weekend without any football to cover. What loose end do you have to tie up this weekend before the rubber meets the road in St. Joe next weekend?
Definitely have some yard work that I have to finish up. If I need to clean the office, because if I don't get the office clean before the beginning of the season, it won't happen. So I need to do that. And then I just need to get ready for the season because, as I keep saying, I always have these great grandiose goals about how I just want to be ready to hit the ground running. And then I feel like 30 minutes into the first day of camp, I'm like 2 weeks behind.
Yeah, I can relate to the yard work thing. There will be some yard work done at Lucero Manor this weekend as well. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. He is our Chiefs insider. Well, Matt, obviously, when camp does arrive, all eyes will be on Patrick Mahomes, and for a different reason than ever before, because we're watching Mahomes coming back from the ACL injury. He continues to insist, as he did in a recent interview with Yahoo Sports, that he says his goal is still week one, that he believes he can be on the field for week one. What, if anything, will maybe be an early tell in training camp as to whether or not that is a realistic possibility?
Probably. The first early tell will be simply that, he passes the conditioning test to be on the field to begin training camp. He didn't participate in the conditioning test at the end of OTAs, which, Andy Reid, in addition to all the medical tests that the players have to go through and the battery of exams and x-rays and checking out any issues that they may have, Andy Reid makes all the players run gassers. And they've got to be able to run their gassers in the appropriate amount of time. And it's changed over the years. So I've heard different stories about how many gassers he makes them run. It varies from like 10 to 13, and it's a different time for each position group. But, when you're talking about, gasser having to run across the field and back, and that's one gasser right there. I have to do that like 12 times. Not for the faint of heart in the heat of St. Joe. So that's the first one. So let's just see if he passes the physical and doesn't begin training camp on the PUP list. That's still a possibility if he doesn't pass the test. Other than that, I think there's going to be a series of check marks. It's not only when does he get on the field for training camp, but it's when's the first time he's going to be an 11 on 11. When's the first time that he's going to be out there in pads. The final one, I think, is going to be if he gets into a preseason game. I think there's checkpoints all along the way before we'll, know for sure if he's going to play week one.
Mahomes' status as the undisputed king of quarterbacks it's in dispute for the first time in, I think, a few years. There have been more places willing to dethrone him from the top of a ranking of the best quarterbacks. ESPN's list had him second behind Josh Allen. I was the only one of our esteemed panel here on 580 Sports Talk yesterday to still rank him number one. And I've said this before on the show, Matt, if I hadn't covered the length of Mahomes' career and watched every meaningful game, every snap he's basically ever taken, I would roll my eyes when I hear things like, well, he really internalizes this stuff. This really does. It fuels his fire. He pays attention to stuff like this, perceived slights like this. But I have covered him, as you have, Matt, and you and I both know he really does internalize this stuff. And I have to imagine we're going to be seeing a version of Mahomes maybe hungrier than we've seen him, not just because the on-field results weren't there, but now a little bit of, oh, you're coming for the belt? Watch this.
Yeah, I think you're right. And some of the I don't know if disrespect is quite the right word. I feel like it may be a little bit because, we're literally talking about a guy that's, less than 18 months ago, he was on the field with the chance to three-peat and get the first one in NFL history. And now, like I said, less than 18 months later, there's people disputing whether or not he's the best quarterback in the league. And it seems like a strange world. And, and some of the disrespect that we like the most about Mahomes, when he gets into petty Mahomes mode, some of that's been direct, like when he counted off the number of guys that were like taken before him
Right.
against the Bears, and some of it's legitimate personal stuff, and sometimes it's just he just imagines it. He can take a slight, but wait, whatever it takes to motivate you, and there's no, I mean, the man's got a ton of motivation. I mean, coming back from the injury. He's got, some doubters maybe for the first time in his NFL career. And I think it will drive him. I mean, I don't think this guy, honestly, Dan, I don't think he needs a lot of motivation. He's one of the most competitive people I've ever covered. And I think Eric Bieniemy described that appropriately once upon a time. So I don't think he needs all that motivation, but he's got more motivation now than I think he's had in a while.
The consensus top 5 in the quarterback rankings here on 580 Sports Talk, we did our rankings yesterday. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford. Is that how you, and maybe not exactly that way, 1 through 5, but is that how you would sort of suss out the top 5 quarterbacks in the league and just in your own personal, in the Matt Derrick power rankings?
Yeah, I mean, when you start going that in that sentence, I'm like, okay, well, which of the quarterbacks are going to be in this list? You named all 5 of them that I was thinking was going to be in your list. So yeah, I mean, I do feel like that's pretty much the at least the 5 people who are at the top. I mean, I think there's more in the next group. I mean, there's going to be some stray people, I'm sure, just want to be bold and have a hot take, and we'll say, oh, well, Drake May's one of the top 5, or Bo Nix, and then there'll be, the lonely Justin Herbert fan out there. But I feel like that's it. I mean, Lamar is probably getting kind of the same disrespect that Mahomes is getting, although, again, we're talking about all these guys, and, none of them have rings, so except for Stafford.
Yeah.
So, and there's guys with rings that we're not even talking about. I mean, we're not talking about Jalen Hurts in this conversation. So it's weird when you're discussing this about, who's the best quarterback, and we're all ranking a lot of quarterbacks that haven't won the championship yet. So it's peculiar, but I'm with you. I mean, I think those are the top 5, and there's some others that are going to be trying to battle it out to get in there. But I also think it depends on, how you're evaluating quarterbacks. It's like, are you evaluating who you want right now? Or is it who was best, basically in 2025? Who's been best over the last 3 years versus the 5 years? I mean, you could use almost any criteria, and you might come up with different answers. But I think the majority of the time, your correct answer is Patrick Mahomes.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com joining us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. He is our Chiefs insider here on the program. So one of the things that we've kind of touched on this offseason, Matt, is the idea that the Chiefs may be falling behind in the department of having elite talent. The idea of maybe having top-tier guys position by position, where maybe the Chiefs don't have on this current roster as much as they've had in years past. But in the course of ESPN ranking the top 10 players at every position, last year in those rankings, position by position, the Chiefs had 7 players ranked in the top 10 at their respective position in the NFL. Going into this season, the Chiefs still have 7 players ranked in the top 10 at their respective positions. They swapped basically Trent McDuffie for Kenneth Walker III. So my question is that idea that the Chiefs are lacking in the elite talent department maybe a little bit overplayed a little bit, and it's less about the talent at the top than it is about, trying to fill in the middle of the roster that's going to be really important for the Chiefs moving forward?
I think you make the great point. It's something I've thought a lot about, and I've been trying to figure out how to explain it the best. And there's a couple of elements to it that I think are part of it as well, because I think you're right. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, the Chiefs still have some pillars of the team, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember for sure. I want to say it was John Dorsey, but it could be, for all I know, it was Lombardi, and people have just been stealing it ever since. But it's this notion that, hey, you need to have like 6 pillars on your team. You need to have 6 guys who are just like the best at their position or amongst the best at their position. And I feel like the Chiefs are still there, even if some of those pillars are up there in age. Chris Jones, I think, is still one of those guys. I think Travis Kelce. I'll fight on the hill. Travis Kelce is still one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. Maybe you can make an argument that he's even top 3, but I'm not going to say he's any worse than top 5. I think his ranking on the Jeremy Fowler list, and Jeremy does a great job. He's just reporting what people say. I mean, I think there's just some really, really bad takes out there about Travis Kelce. I get the drops are a problem, but, everybody's got problems, and he's still one of the better tight ends. And Kenneth Walker is a really good addition. I mean, even though you lost Trent McDuffie, I mean, you still have some of these pillars. But, NFL rosters are made up in other ways, too. And I think that's where the Chiefs are probably struggling a little bit now, because when you talk about a supporting cast, and now you're talking about, it's no longer your best player at each position, but it's like, hey, who's your second and third, like who's your second best receiver and your second best running back, and what about your backups along the offensive and defensive lines? I mean, I think that's where the Chiefs do struggle a little bit. I mean, you compare them with some other teams like the Rams and maybe even Buffaloes of the world. You say, okay, well, hey, the Chiefs may be 1 through 6, one of the better teams in the league, and maybe with player 1, they're maybe the best team in the league. But 7 through 30, how are they? No, maybe they're only like 15th best. And then, you go on further down. I think one of the things that hurt the Chiefs last year was just that it wasn't like the bottom of the roster, but maybe in guys like 31 through 45, it was a lot of guys who were just clogging up spots and veterans that just their best days are behind them. And that's where I think one of the things the Chiefs are trying to improve this year is they're trying to go from being a team that had a lot of veterans that had just gotten a little bit old and long in the tooth, that were filling up roster spots, and now they're trying to, get younger, hungrier guys in those places.
Last thing I want to ask you about, Matt, I thought this was interesting from Bill Barnwell at ESPN.com yesterday in his trade value column, where he pointed out the Chiefs have had and still have the opportunity to restructure Chris Jones's contract to play some salary cap games if they need to, but they haven't done it, and there's no guaranteed money on Jones's deal after 2026. If they don't restructure his deal, is that perhaps a sign that this is kind of a prove-it year in a production standpoint for Chris Jones, that the Chiefs are maybe going to be watching 95 this year and saying, hey, if the production doesn't improve, we're gonna have a decision to make monetarily that might be a really hard one to make. But do you think that the Chiefs might be positioning this to be a year where Chris Jones has to show that he is indeed going to age gracefully?
Yeah, I think you absolutely hit on it, and Bill's hit on it as well. I mean, one of the big questions about the Chiefs and going forward and what this roster is going to look like going forward, because if you can restructure Chris Jones to free up some cap space, but if you do that, you are committing to Chris Jones beyond 26. And right now, you like you said, you have the out. You have the ability to walk away from Chris after this year, not pay him going into 33 and 34 age seasons. And let's face it, if he is the guy that he has been the last couple of years, or takes a step back, I mean, he's not going to be worth the money that's currently on the books for him. I mean, this would be the time that if you're going to restructure Chris Jones, you would try to say, hey, Chris, we want to keep you for the future, but we can't afford to keep you at this number for the future. The worst case scenario for the Chiefs from a financial standpoint would be that Chris, honestly just kind of beats the odds, because the last couple of years he's kind of gotten unlucky. If you look at his win rate and his, pressure rate, you look at all these things, he should have more sacks. I mean, those numbers don't always correlate in the short term. There are times that you're going to have a high win rate and a high pressure rate, and you're just not going to get a bunch of sacks. In another year, you might end up with 15.5 sacks. Chris Jones, I think, is totally capable of that. And if Chris goes out and has 15.5 sacks, I mean, the Chiefs may end up having to keep Chris at a really high number, and and try to figure things out going forward, or they may have to, restructure and pay him. They have to restructure somebody, and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith have deals that can also be used to free up some cap space. But it's going to be a difficult one, because this could very well be Chris Jones's last year in Kansas City, or it could be a very, very costly year for the Chiefs, because if he has a good year, I think it's going to just commit them to him going further down the road, and then you always run into maybe the Salvador Perez problem for the Chiefs.
Matt Derrick covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. He's our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk and joins us every Friday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Can't wait, man. We're going to have some fun next week.
Yes, indeed. That is Matt Derrick. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up this 3 o'clock hour with On Second Thought here on 580 Sports Talk. On second thought, I don't think the Royals are winning the American League Central. Obviously, right? This is the second half of the Major League Baseball season, unofficially, that starts tonight. And I could do way longer than the time I have to talk about the Royals I was wrong about this year. Thought Lucas Erceg would bounce back. That didn't happen. I thought Matt Strahm would be steady. That didn't happen. I thought Maikel Garcia could even get better from his All-Star season. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Thought Salvi still had some left in the tank. That doesn't look like it's true either. I hope I'm wrong about that one. Be a lot more fun if I was wrong about that one, for sure. But we were all wrong in a lot of different ways about the 2026 Kansas City Royals. Hey, caller number 3, 785-272-9429. Caller number 3, 785-272-9429. I've got a family 4-pack of tickets to the TBT, the basketball tournament, KU and K-State alumni at Lee Arena next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, 785-272-9429. More 580 Sports Talk coming up. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device. On the MSC Radio app. And on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. We're with you until 6:30 tonight. We've got a little overtime prior to Royals baseball. The Royals are back following the All-Star break. I said what they had to do to submit a not 100 loss season, to avoid 100 losses. But what about the flip side? They got 65 games left. For a winning season to go 82-80, which would match what they did last year, the Royals would have to go 44-21 in the second half. Do you believe in miracles?
No.
Yes, but not that one in particular. Not that one in particular.
I don't know. I did see my team go 19
From 19
31.
and 31 to a World Series.
But this is not 19 and 31. This is way past 19 and way worse than 19 and 31.
Anybody could have a bad 50 games. When it gets to be 97 bad games, that's a little bit tougher to course correct.
Yeah.
So, but the second half, unofficial second half, begins tonight for the Royals. First of 3 against the San Diego Padres, who I believe went into the break. They had an 8-game losing streak at one point. They had lost 11 of their last 16 going into the All-Star break and dropped to an even 500 in third place in the National League West. They come calling tonight. First of a 3-game series. 7:10 first pitch. 6:30 pregame here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we're going to have a little overtime between 6 and 6:30. Couple of twin overtime conversations of the day for you.
So on the MLB app, under scores, whenever it's the time before game start, it has like notable notes, if there's anything notable. And for this game, it says notable. Padres 81 and 48 second half record over the past 2 seasons is the best in the MLB. I did not know that.
Yeah, they've been a
second half's their.
Yeah, they have been a second half team because they've been big movers at the trade deadline.
That's
they've been
true, yeah.
real aggressive over the years. They're having such a weird year because their record is fine, like 48 and 48. I think they're the worst offense in baseball or adjacent. It's going to read you some fun facts about the Padres offense. Fernando Tatis Jr. has 5 home runs.
What?
5 home runs. He has 42 in a season once. He has 5 home runs through 95 games. Jackson Merrill, their young star center fielder, he's hitting 219. Xander Bogaerts, veteran shortstop, He's hitting 224. Manny Machado is hitting 203.
Wow.
Yeah. He's had 19 home runs. But
if he's not hitting home
only
runs,
50 other hits.
If he's not hitting home runs, he's probably not hitting.
So, they have been a miserable offensive team. Of course, you know what has been good for what has ailed struggling offenses this year. A couple of cracks at the Royals bullpen. So it's a resistible force and a movable object in a way this weekend at Kauffman Stadium. Again, 7:10 first pitch tonight, 6:30 pregame from the Royals Radio Network.
Does that mean they got fireworks tonight, too?
Yes, that's exactly what they've got. Yeah. Hopefully, fireworks are always fun. They're even more fun after a win. That's why it's a 7:10 start. Yeah. They move it for just for the Friday night games. It wasn't long ago that all of the games during the summer were 7:10 starts, but they bumped them up to 6:40 a couple of years ago, except for the fireworks Fridays, because with the pitch clock, you get a 2-hour game. It's 9:10. There's a sliver of daylight. You want to make sure it's dark when you got the fireworks going. So that's the reason for that. Anyhow, that's tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Still to come on the show today. We got 2 more great guests for you. Our thanks again to Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, for joining us in the 3 o'clock hour. Coming up at the bottom of this hour is Jeff Bollig. He's the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, who this year is inducting the largest class in Kansas Sports Hall of Fame history. 32 members being inducted this year. They are making up for some lost time and inducting some fabulous honorees this year, including some with Topeka ties: Judy Dyer, Dink Mothel, C.J. Hamilton of Silver Lake, of course, Shawnee County ties. So we'll talk to Jeff about those inductees, but also the 32-member class and the 3 induction ceremonies that are being held this year, including there's one tonight. At
I thought it was tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. One tomorrow night. I said tomorrow night in the opening hour. I always get something wrong. I can be counted on to get a date wrong every single day on this show. It's like it's a drinking game. You can set your watch to it. It's how addled I am by my wife being off of work and the lack of sleep of being a father of a 2-year-old. That's what I blame. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Tomorrow night at Legends Field in KCK. Go see the Kansas City Monarchs game. Go at 6 o'clock for the pregame ceremony in which 8 baseball legends of the state of Kansas, including Topeka's own Dink Mothel, are honored. Obviously, I think everybody is being honored posthumously, but there could be some family representatives there. But yes, 6 o'clock for the pregame ceremony for the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. 6:30 for the first pitch of the Monarchs game. You can get tickets online. You can buy tickets walking up to the door at Legends Field tomorrow. There are 2 other ceremonies, including one next Saturday at Kansas Star Casino in Mulvane. That's where C.J. Hamilton and Judy Dyer will be honored. And then another one August 16th at Sporting Park in Kansas City. So Jeff Bollig is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Gracious enough to speak with me. We'll have that conversation for you coming up at the bottom of this hour. Also in the 5 o'clock hour, the great Paul Carr checking in with us one more time during the World Cup for a World Cup final preview.
Speaking of the World Cup, did you see that FIFA and the White House are going to be talking tomorrow about the air quality conditions?
Tomorrow.
Why not today?
Why not right now?
Why not come on, there's urgency to this.
Yes. If you're going to have to move the game, you need to make that decision pretty expeditiously. But the World Cup final, of course, Sunday between Spain and Argentina. Paul Carr, lead soccer researcher for Fox and other networks, senior director of media and business operations for True Media Sports, and, of course, a Topekan and a former 580 WIBW staffer. He'll join us in the 5 o'clock hour today. Want to hear from you on the program? Text line's open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube stream, name of the channel, 580 Sports Talk. But I wanted to talk about this today because we talked about this last year, and I kind of wanted to follow up. Obviously, yesterday on the show, we ranked the quarterbacks from 1 to 32. Well, we gave you our top 10 and our bottom 5, but had it out over some of the quarterbacks in the middle. I'm still reeling over how disrespectful that you and Wade Gerstner were to me over my placement of Trevor Lawrence in the top 10. You know who else has Trevor Lawrence in the top 10? Matt Verderame. In fact, Matt Verderame published his list today. Other than having Stafford and Jackson flip-flopped, his top 10 and my top 10, the same.
Wow.
And totally independently of each other. So that made me feel real good about my list. Because we know
Can't wait till you say that on Monday to him.
We know Matt's a ball knower. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about Matt's list. You can go check it out today if you want. It's at Sports Illustrated. It's SI.com. But we rank the quarterbacks. But also, during the last couple of weeks, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN has been compiling lists every position from coaches and front office personnel around the NFL and putting together top 10 rankings by position. So there's top 10 rankings. You can go to ESPN.com and read all of these. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, interior offensive line, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, edge rusher, off-ball linebacker, cornerback, and safety. So that's 11 different position groups. No special teams ranking. Very rude, in my opinion. The third phase, Dave Tobin shambles. Anyway, so what I went and did is I went through all of those lists and basically scored each team by their placement or their player's placement in the list. So very simple. If you were ranked number one at the position, that was 10 points for your team. So at quarterback, Josh Allen was number one in the ESPN.com quarterback rankings. That's 10 points for Buffalo. 9 points for the Chiefs because Mahomes was second, all the way down to 1 point for Caleb Williams, who was ranked 10. You get the gist? You follow what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
So at running back, it was 10 points for the Falcons. Bijan Robinson ranked number one at running back. At wide receiver, Jamar Chase of the Bengals, 10 points for the Bengals. For the record, I think this is a fascinating one to debate. Chase or Jefferson or the reigning offensive player of the year, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, the Seahawks, or Puka Nacua. That's one of those where really I think you can argue for any one of those guys, and I would listen. I think that my pick would still be Jefferson, but I understand why Chase got the nod because Jefferson was kind of a non-factor last year, though I don't think that was his fault.
My thoughts on this is I think you can knock Puka because he's
the off-the-field stuff?
He's going to do something stupid that's going to potentially have him miss a game or two.
He very well may be one of the dumbest human beings in the National Football League. And that's like a low bar to limbo under. But
there's a lot of players in this NFL league that are very great at the sport.
Yes.
But not good at being they're not leaders off the field.
What I don't understand, like, dude, you are one of the coolest objectively players just in terms of how good you are at a glamour position.
Yeah.
Like, you are going to make a lot of money. You are very popular. Why are you hanging out with dudes who play video games for a living? Like, why? Why? Why?
I have an
Why
answer.
Are you hanging out with a basement dweller like, what was his name, Aiden Ross? Like, why would you hang out with him? If you were Puka Nacua, why would you hang out with a dude who plays video games for a living?
I have an answer. It's the generation.
It's clearly a generation gap.
Like, it's
I'm the old man of the club. I don't understand
I'm not trying
anymore.
to say it like that.
Well,
I'm talking about
you would
like,
be right if you said it that way, but go ahead, continue.
I'm talking about more of like this generation so into, like, I'm saying it as me. I'm on the very latter end of it.
Uh-huh.
Being into like social media and live streamers and like that's the thing. That was the new age thing. So everybody wanted to do it. Like growing up, you see all these people on YouTube. I want to be a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my age group.
Yeah.
And then they tried it and realized it doesn't necessarily work.
Doesn't really pay.
No, unless you get like brand deals on brand deals.
So anyhow, but yeah, there's like a clear-cut top four at wide receiver that's outstanding. Chase got the nod at number one. My vote would have gone to Jefferson. I would have gone Jefferson, Chase 1-2.
Yes.
And then JSN, Nacua 3-4. But I could see why it went the other way. Number one at tight end was Brock Bowers this year.
Makes sense.
Number one at interior offensive line, Tyler Smith of the Cowboys. Number one at offensive tackle, Penei Sewell of the Lions. Number one defensive tackle, this one surprised me, Leonard Williams of the Seahawks, who's awesome, but like I would have gone with Jeffrey Simmons and not thought twice. Jeffrey Simmons was second. Leonard Williams was first. I think his team won the Super Bowl. You get a little bit of a bump. Number one edge rusher, Myles Garrett of the Rams. No
Makes
argument
sense.
here.
Yeah.
Number one off-ball linebacker, Fred Warner. Duh. Number one cornerback, Patrick Surtain II. Again, duh. And number one safety, another no-brainer, Kyle Hamilton of the Ravens.
You mentioned edge rushers, Myles Garrett.
Yes.
Have you seen the potential development in Los Angeles on the Rams side?
I am preferring not to think about it. As a
Okay.
fan of another team in the NFC West, I pretend I do not see it.
Could you imagine?
I pretend I do not see it. That is what's happening there. So anyway, what I did is I went through and I gave every team a point value for having a player ranked at a certain position. The Chiefs had 7 players ranked in the top 10 at their respective positions. Obviously, Mahomes was second ranked at quarterback. Chris Jones was ranked 4th at defensive tackle. Both Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith were in the rankings for interior offensive line, and I don't have in front of me. It was a combined score that they ended up getting that I gave them there. But for the interior offensive line rankings, both Creed and Trey were in it. Creed was 3rd ranked at that spot, and Trey Smith was ranked 7th overall. So they were both in the top 10. Nick Bolton was ranked 8th among off-ball linebackers. Kenneth Walker, the 3rd, was ranked 9th among running backs. And Travis Kelce was ranked 10th among the tight ends, which I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
Mark Andrews looks every bit like you want to say, oh, Kelce looks washed. Kelce looks less than he used to. Sure, Kelce looks less than he used to. So does Mark Andrews. How do you justify ranking Andrews ahead of Kelce? How do you do it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, okay, you want to rank, like, I don't even think you do Kyle Pitts because he's had one good year. I don't think you do Tucker Kraft because he's coming off an ACL. I don't think you can rank Colston Loveland ahead of Travis Kelce. To me, still a top 5 guy. The poll ranked him 10th. Whatever. Anyway, so all of those rankings gave the Chiefs a score, if you will, of a total of 34 rankings points. And that was good enough for 3rd in the league. The team with the most players in a top 10 and the highest score was the Detroit Lions. Both of their safeties ranked, Branch and Joseph. The linebacker, whose name I'm totally spacing on, Jack, what's his name? The linebacker. For the Lions. Oh my God!
I want to say Cochran, but that's wrong.
No, it's not Cochran. That's a Chief.
Yeah.
He was a 1st-round pick. We all know Campbell.
Jack Campbell.
Campbell. Yeah, Jack Campbell was in the top 10. Aiden Hutchinson was in the top 10. Penei Sewell was the number 1 offensive tackle. Laporta was 4th at tight end. Amon-Ra St. Brown was 4th or 5th at wide receiver, and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jared Goff were also in the top 10. So they had 9 guys in the top 10, which is the most in the league, and that gave them a score of 55. Here's what I thought was interesting. The highest scoring teams, by, again, number of players ranked and how high they were ranked at their respective position, the highest scoring teams this year were Detroit, San Francisco, Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore and the Rams were tied for 5th. Last year, the top 5 scoring teams, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit, Baltimore, and San Francisco. It's the same teams. It's the same teams year over year. And obviously, you look at that list last season, and you look at what those teams ended up accomplishing. Obviously, the less said about the Chiefs last year, the better. But Philadelphia went 11-6, won their division, but had a very quick playoff exit. Detroit, 9-8, missed the playoffs. Baltimore, 8-9, missed the playoffs. San Francisco, 12-5, didn't make it out of the divisional round. So those teams with the perceived elite talent advantage didn't really do so hot. Meanwhile, the teams that made conference championship weekend in last year's rankings had the 19th, 27th, 28th, and 29th highest elite talent scores. Denver, Seattle, the Rams, and New England in that order. And this year, those teams naturally have moved up. The Rams are tied for 5th, and part of the reason the Rams are tied is because they've added elite talent.
Yeah, I was going to say they just added
Myles Garrett,
the best starting player,
and they added Trent McDuffie, who's the top 10 corner. So they're tied for 5th. Seattle's up to 8th. Denver's up to 13th. And New England is up to a tie for 17th.
So I have something to say right now about about New England. I think New England's run last year is parallel to my Commanders' run in the prior season.
Okay. In the sense that you feel like they overachieved a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, because I don't, like right now, as things stand, I don't know. I don't think my Commanders are making the playoffs this year. I don't think it's happening. I think 9 wins, 10 wins cap. And I think 9 wins doesn't get you in the playoffs. So, to me, that's what my thought about New England. The more I've sat on it and chewed on it this offseason, is that.
I don't think you're out of line there. I think as we get closer to making predictions, I think it will be a very. I don't know how. If it will be the consensus, but I think when a lot of people are asked for hey, give me a bold prediction, I think a lot of people will put their chests out and say, yeah, I don't think the Patriots are getting back to the playoffs. So I think I'm with you there in a sense. They were an older team last year. They got old in a hurry through free agency. And they were an older team where Washington was also kind of an older team around Jaden Daniels 2 years ago as well. So the other thing that I thought was really interesting. So last year when I did this segment, I had what I called the 50 Club because there were high enough scores that teams had an elite talent score. Again, this is very unscientific, but had enough players ranked high enough in ESPN.com's rankings that they had an elite talent score of over 50. Last year, Philadelphia, Kansas City, and Detroit all had scores of over 50. And Baltimore was not far behind. Baltimore had a score over 40. Nobody else had a score over 40. But it was 4 teams over 40 and 3 teams in the 50 Club. This year, there's 1 team in the 50 Club, and that's Detroit. And the talent scores behind that, San Francisco, 37. They've got Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Fred Warner ranked. Kansas City at 34. We went through their ranked guys. Same number of ranked guys as last year. 7 in their respective top 10s. They essentially swapped out Trent McDuffie for Kenneth Walker. Philadelphia's score is down to 33. Both of their offensive tackles, Johnson and Mailata, Saquon Barkley, the big defensive tackle, Jalen Carter, and then Bond at linebacker, and then both of their corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, were ranked.
Yeah.
Baltimore got a score of 32. The Rams got a score of 32. And then Houston had a score of 31, and Seattle had a score of 30. So that's your top 8, but only one of those teams had a score above 40, where you had 4 teams with that score last year. And what that suggests to me is more stratification with the elite talent in the league, maybe being more widely dispersed. And if you have more teams, more different teams have game winners, right? Because if you're thinking of an elite player, you're thinking about a guy who was a difference maker, a game winner. If those guys are more evenly spread out, which these results this year suggest that they are, that accounts for a more wide open league and accounts for the kinds of things we saw last year where your Final Four ended up being something completely unexpected by the end of the year. But I think also, as far as the Chiefs are concerned, and we talked about this a little bit with Matt Derrick, I think it shows that the idea that the Chiefs are losing elite talent or are short on elite talent relative to the contender class may be a little unfair. Maybe that narrative's a little bit unfair because they still have those guys, those pillars, as Matt Derrick called them, on their roster. Even if guys like Jones aren't ranked as highly as they used to be, or Kelsey, or even Mahomes slipping from that number 1 spot, those elite guys, those top-of-scale guys, those are still there. Those are still on this roster. And who knows, maybe next year, if there's one Chief who you think could end up on a top 10 list next year that isn't this year, Mansour Lane, Josh Simmons?
Simmons. I think if he's available, I think he could end up on that list.
I think it's one of those 2 guys. So I think that might end up being a narrative that maybe just a little bit overblown. We got to take a break. We're coming back with What Is Wrong With You. We got a VAR check on what is wrong with you.
What?
We got a VAR check. on What Is Wrong With You. And then Jeff Bollig from the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame will join us here on 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you, time on 580 Sports Talk? We're crowning a weekly champion. Our current champion is the party foul. The party bus driver who got drunk, slammed into a couple of parked cars, and drove into a house. And also didn't have a driver's license. But upon further review, we have an added detail about yesterday's winner.
So we have more of a story to this. Yesterday, there wasn't a lot of stories out.
We just knew that a guy had gotten trapped in a porta potty, like the tank of the porta potty,
and he had to be cut out by
and had to be cut out in Kansas City. Today we have learned why he got himself into the tank.
Oh my
He had
gosh.
dropped a Mountain Dew bottle into the tank.
Bro, let it
and
go.
went in to retrieve it.
Bro, let it go.
And was in there for roughly 8 hours.
Bro, just let it go.
Over a Mountain Dew, he dropped into the tank. We speculated yesterday. A ring, sure. A phone, I can see it. A Mountain Dew? Look, I love a cold, refreshing Mountain Dew. He went in there after a bet. You're going to put your lips on that bottle after where it's been? Brother, go buy another one. They are like $2.69 at a corner store. You got to charge that to the game. Upon further review, the fact that he went in there after a bottle of soda, I think that makes it the rightful champion.
Yeah.
The VAR check complete. We are overturning yesterday's result, which we've never done in the history of the program. VAR check complete. Our current weekly champion is the guy who got stuck in a porta can for 8 hours because he went in there after he dropped his Mountain Dew. That is one of the stupidest things ever. All right, we'll see if we can take that.
We love context.
Yes.
Context was needed.
Context is key. My story today, we're going to Indianapolis, where a man is facing felony charges of criminal recklessness after police say he posted a YouTube video of himself shooting at a bag of coffee in his backyard. The social media video allegedly shows an Army veteran shooting at a bag of Starbucks coffee as a form of protest. Now, maybe I'm not online enough. I don't know what Starbucks did to make somebody mad, make this Army veteran upset.
He could have. There's a bunch of things that big companies do these days that irk people.
You decide to boycott. Like I remember,
Target is a thing people boycott, and I don't understand.
People have boycotted Target. Like Kid Rock lit a bunch of Bud Light on fire 3 years ago. Stuff like this all the time. But he fired a gun in his backyard at a bag of Starbucks coffee. and it was perched on the fence. Like, he didn't, like, set it in the backyard and, like, fire at it on the ground. No, he set it on the fence and just shot at the fence. And that has led to criminal recklessness charges being filed against 48-year-old Eric Smith. Police officer Tommy Thompson in Indianapolis says when you recklessly shoot in a densely populated area, it's very dangerous and puts everyone at risk. Smith has filed a motion to dismiss the case, saying that behind his house is a heavily wooded area and nobody reasonably could have been hit by the bullet. But an attorney quoted in the article at Fox 59 in Indianapolis says no one has to be hurt for a shooting in a neighborhood to be considered reckless. So we'll see what happens there. End of the day, there's got to be a better way to make your point or go viral on the internet than, like, firing a gun into the air, basically. Hey, you can say, wow, there's no way it would have hit anybody. You better hope so. What's your story today?
We're going to Mississippi. A completely naked Mississippi woman was driving erratically in a car containing marijuana and an illegally modified firearms when she was pulled over on Sunday evening during the traffic stop in the town of Ellisville, which has a population of under 5,000 people. Police discovered that driver Caitlin Maxwell, who's 22, was encumbered, was not wearing any clothes. She was
unencumbered in that way.
Sorry. She was alone in her 2017 Dodge Challenger, which reeked of pot, appeared to be under the influence, investigators reported. A search of the vehicle turned up a Glock handgun at Maxwell's feet, another Glock wedged between the passenger seat and center console. In the trunk, cops found a third Glock and two AR-15 rifles, one of which appeared to have been outfitted with a switch that would make it fully automatic. She was arrested on an assortment of felony and misdemeanor counts. She's locked up at the Jones County Jail in lieu of a $35,000 bond. Maxwell said that her boyfriend, 24-year-old Sean Cooley, used a 3D printer to make switches, which are also known as forced reset triggers. Subsequent search of Cooley's residence resulted in his arrest for possession of machine gun conversion devices and seizure of a small arsenal. Records do not show why Maxwell decided to drive naked, but yes, that happened at 9:40 p.m. on a Sunday. She was also under the influence.
Probably because of that under the influence part.
Yes.
Like, detectives believe alcohol and drugs may have been involved. But yeah, like, you always want to call less attention to yourself. The more illegal activity you are doing, the less you want to call attention to yourself. And yeah, there was no way that walking up on a driver, okay, driving a little erratically, we'll go see if something's up, pull her over, and then as soon as you walk up and see that she's got no clothes on, there's no way that's going to end well.
Yeah.
There's no way that doesn't lead to even more trouble. I'm going to go with that story today.
Yeah.
But I think Paul calls it Mountain Don't in the live chat, and Jeffrey refers to it as Mountain Doo-Doo.
Yeah, Mountain Doo-Doo's going to somehow
unprecedented. What is wrong with you history? We went back, we overturned a result on review, and that story, the guy who got stuck in a porta potty because he went in after a soda bottle for 8 hours, that's our weekly champion on What is Wrong with You. When we come back, Jeff Bollig, chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, joins me for a conversation here on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk on this Friday. We are pleased to be joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Jeff Bollig. He is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame and the first of 3 induction ceremonies this year for the 32-member class of 2026 for the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame is coming up tomorrow in Kansas City, Kansas, at Legends Field at the Kansas City Monarchs game. Again, one of 3 induction ceremonies this year for the largest class in Hall of Fame history. And Jeff, let's start there. 32 names on this list, all deserving. What made this the year to open the gates as wide as the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame decided to this year?
Well, Dan, first of all, thanks for your time and the opportunity to speak with you and to your listeners. If you look at the history of the Hall of Fame, there was a period when, about a 12-year period, probably in the 70s and 80s, when no one was selected. And to tell you the truth, I don't know why. But and there were a few other classes in the 60s that maybe were 1 or 2. We generally like to have 10 as our magic number. But when we looked at the ballot and the voting and how close it was, and quite frankly, you want to recognize people when they're living, right? And too many people are going in posthumously, and we'd have several in this class. In fact, 12 of them are, but we just thought it was time to play a little catch up and recognize those people who deserve it.
So it's a 32-member class this year, and then from that point, what created the decision to have the 3 different ceremonies? As I mentioned, there's a ceremony tomorrow night, the Kansas City Monarchs game at Legends Field. It's a 6 p.m. Induction ceremony. There's another class going in a week from tomorrow, so not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. That ceremony will be at the Kansas Star Casino in Mulvane. And then on August 16th, another 12 members will be inducted at Sporting Park in Kansas City, Kansas. So how were the locations decided? How was the class divvied up? What went into the decision-making process there?
Well, it became rather somewhat easy once everything kind of fell into place and we got the names. First of all, there's been a significant push, as you know, nationally around Negro League players and, including their stats in Major League now and recognizing them. In Northeast Kansas especially, one, Dink Mothel from Topeka is going in, but there were so many great Negro League players that had not been in. And to tell you the truth, our rules are that you have to be nominated to get in, and obviously, but not everybody gets nominated, and we as a board felt that just because you weren't nominated by someone in the public at large, so we as a board researched. We can nominate ourselves. We don't vote, but we nominate. And we just felt there were some deserving Negro League players that had been brought up several times by individuals. And so that became rather easy with the Monarchs being Kansas City. And actually 6 of those are Negro Leaguers. And one is obviously Diego Segui, who came from Cuba and moved to Kansas City, Kansas in 1963 until his passing last year. And, of course, his son David, played in the majors for quite a while. And Diego was a longtime Kansas City resident, a large family there. So it just made sense from the Negro League standpoint, and those individuals, legends, just to be in KCK along with the Monarchs. The Monarchs have been very good about giving the facility and hosting us. That's number one. And then, I'll jump ahead to the other one in Kansas City. Quite frankly, too, the bigger vote getters were soccer ties. And given Cliffy, of course, owns the Sporting, and a key person to getting the World Cup to Kansas City, and of course Matt Beasler, Blue Valley West grad and Notre Dame, and then of course for Sporting, and they were 2 high vote getters. And fortuitous timing with the World Cup and the interest there, it just made a lot of sense. And then we saw the vote getters, John Martin, a portrait artist who's largely based in Northeast Kansas, so that kind of worked for that group. And then in Wichita, just some great athletes from that area, and really South Central Kansas, some smaller town athletes. So geographically, it just kind of worked out.
We're talking to Jeff Bollig. He is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Again, the first of their 3 induction ceremonies for this year's 32-member class, coming up tomorrow night at Legends Field prior to the Kansas City Monarchs game. Some local ties for us here in Topeka. As you mentioned, you brought up Dink Mothel. He'll be one of the Negro League greats who is honored tomorrow night, considered the greatest utility player in the history of the Negro Leagues. At the ceremony next Saturday in Wichita, Judy Dyer, a graduate of Topeka High, didn't compete for Topeka High, didn't have the opportunity to compete because there were no girls' sports in her time, but went on to be an Olympian, represent the United States in the Olympics. C.J. Hamilton, the great football coach at Silver Lake here in Shawnee County as well. And when you talk about those athletes, that's obviously a diverse set of backgrounds there. You have people who succeeded on the playing fields, on the tracks, on the sidelines, but 3 really, I think, uniquely representative stories to be able to tell of our Topeka and Shawnee County area athletes there.
Absolutely. Moffel got started very early. In fact, some people said he was too young to play, but fudged his age a little. But a tremendous athlete, played every position. Every year he played at least one game at a different position. And his information, his photos, his uniform, a lot of paraphernalia is at the Negro League Baseball Museum. And really, he's one of the better contributors to it. So, kudos to him and to his family. Judy Dyer and C.J. Hamilton are wonderful stories. And, you look at 2, of all the people in the class, you look at 2 individuals, you're saying, kind of like that Aflac duck, what did we miss? Why haven't they been in? And a little of it's due to nomination, but Judy, just a tremendous athlete, started with the Topeka Cosmos AAU club. As you mentioned, they did not have girls sports. She was noticed by Texas Southern. Texas Southern was going to start female athletics, and they selected 6 from across the nation. And Judy was an outstanding sprinter and hurdler, tied an American record, went to the 68 Olympics, and just a tremendous person. She's so spry right now, and I'm excited to see her in the Q&A at Wichita, because she's really, I'm going to use the term affectionately, spunky. She's I tell the story that I called her to notify her that she won, and it rang about 7 times. Maybe she's getting up there in age. Maybe she's just not as quick to the phone. She answers. She goes, and she just blurts out, "I'm sorry, I'm late. I was in the middle of my workout." and she's approaching 80. So I envision her having a set of hurdles in her backyard, and she's just hopping over them. But Judy's tremendous. She tells a great story about riding home on the plane next to George Foreman and getting to be good friends. And, of course, that was a somewhat of a controversial time with Tommy Smith and John Carlos and the protest, and she was in the middle of that, if you remember. So, when the track went on, and so it was an interesting time for her, and she tells a great story about that. And I'm just so glad that she's recognized. And of course, Coach Hamilton, he has more than 100 wins and the closest person in terms of high school football in Kansas, and just so deserving. And he's had so many generations of family in Silver Lake. It's, as you know, the tradition there is amazing, and it's good to honor him because he's most deserving, and we've probably missed him the last few years. But he did coach a long time. You can't be inducted while you're still coaching. So I told Coach he just needed to retire earlier.
Yeah, he did. He hung in for a long time and won a lot of games. And I covered his last few teams out here in my capacity. So I got to know CJ a little bit in that professional capacity as well. One of the neat things about the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, obviously, you're putting in some people in this 32-member class who had notable professional careers. Their names, in other words, that people outside of the state of Kansas would be aware of. Remember Matt Beasler. I remember watching Earl Watson play in the NBA. Maurice Evans had an NBA career. But to put them in alongside of some of those, again, unique stories that maybe only if you're a Kansan you know their story, like a Judy Dyer or a Nathan Leeper or the outstanding wrestler Zach Roberson, who's going in that Kansas City ceremony. When you get the reactions from athletes like that who may not go into a professional sports Hall of Fame necessarily, but they're being honored because they represented the state of Kansas in what they did, what are those reactions like that you get from those athletes?
Wow, they are so humbled. They are so appreciative. And the one thing everyone talks about are the people who were there to get them where they are today. And it's the coaches, it's their families, it's the sacrifices people made on their behalf, and really kind of maybe what they didn't appreciate when they were younger. And that's the great thing. We don't do acceptance speeches. We do Q&As. And it's amazing to hear how the stories have changed or they've added as they become a little more mature and learned and understanding that you don't go it alone, that there's people that are helping you. So there's this outstanding realization that there were other people to help you. And you mentioned a good point. This is the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, and the board puts a strong emphasis on what they've done in Kansas and their ties. One thing back, and these are some of the elderly, and as we've gone more into the pro where you can make a lot of money, there were players and athletes who qualified to be professional athletes, but the money wasn't there. And so you have an athlete who just has a great high school and maybe a solid college career, but then they go teach for 40 years or so when they could have been pros. I remember Ray Evans, senior at Kansas, All-American in football and basketball. He played 1 year of football, I believe, because he wanted to get back and start a career in the business in Kansas City because he had a family to support, and he couldn't do that on a pro contract. So it just changed over the years, and we have such differentiation among the nominees. Some do so well in amateur events and high school, and so we don't say if you're any better if you're a pro or a minor leaguer or high school. We just kind of look at the body of work and what you've done, how you've competed at that time, and how you distinguished yourself.
It is a remarkable class, and they always are, but particularly this year with 32 inductees into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff Bollig is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff, I want you to take this opportunity to tell people how they can attend these induction ceremonies, including the first one tomorrow night out at Legends Field.
Well, great. I appreciate that. Legends Field, the first pitch is at 6:30. The ceremony will start about 6 o'clock, and it's at the Legends Shopping Center out there off of I-70 and 435. And there's plenty of tickets at the gate there, so you can just get them there. In Wichita and in Kansas City, if you go to kshof.org online, we'll have there's a little button you can click for the events, and you can pick Wichita or Kansas City, or pick both. And we'd like to do it in advance just so we have good numbers to count to provide. But attendance is really strong right now. We're really pleased. The families really get behind this, and then of course the locals do as well. And for example, Benedictine coach Larry Wilcox is going in, and the whole town of Benedictine may be there. And Steve Crosby from Ponte Rock, which the high school is closed, I believe he has 5 tables. So it's a big deal to these people and their families and their supporters. And they're great stories. And then I think the best thing about our events is they're interactive. We do the event first, and then you have a reception and dinner afterwards. And it's free mingling. People talk, people take pictures, and it's just not like you go and listen and then just don't get that touch with them. It's really great, and I think that's one thing we come away is just the interaction and how much people enjoy it.
Again, kshof.org is the website. You may purchase tickets for any one of the 3 induction ceremonies there, or for tomorrow night's at Legends Field in KCK. you can purchase tickets at the stadium and be there for the induction ceremony at 6 o'clock, which will include the Negro League legends. Dink Mothel of Topeka will be recognized in that ceremony. Jeff Bollig is the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff, it's great to catch up with you year over year to talk about these outstanding Kansas sports stories that are being enshrined forever in the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Wish you all the best with these induction ceremonies, and thanks again for taking the time today.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That is Jeff Bollig. Before we take one final time out this hour, I want to tell you about the good people at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. It's been rainy the last couple of days. Rain kind of popping up out of nowhere. Maybe you think right now is a good time to get your car washed. It certainly would be for the weekend. Make sure your car is looking shiny. Or maybe you thought yesterday would be a good day to get a car washed, like my wife did. She went to Eagle. She got a shine. I knew immediately she'd been to Eagle when I opened up the garage and got home and saw how sparkling, shiny her car looked. But with the 24-hour rain check, you can go back. If you get a wash and it rains on you, you get the 24-hour rain check to go back and get another wash. That's just another great service they provide at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. The best price, the local choice for the best shine and the best service. Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. Soar with Eagle once a week. We're back with Change My Mind to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour.
Topeka.
Changed my mind. Sorry.
I've changed my mind. Actually, I changed my mind.
Cartman changed his mind.
I did not change my mind.
I'm not changing my mind.
I might change my mind.
Nothing you can say can change my mind.
So change my mind.
That's Slickly Produced Open, brought to you by Spencer Dupuis. It's Changed My Mind on 580 Sports Talk.
Yeah, that's like the one of the few besides that and Either Or Over Under that doesn't have its own little intro.
Well, didn't have its own intro, and now it does.
Now it lives on with an intro.
There we go. Change my mind. Travis Kelce's still a top 5 tight end in the NFL.
Unless he got married and becomes bad because he got married, then I can't change your mind. I think his numbers last year prove that he's still there, and until he loses the numbers, until the numbers drop so hard, then I can't change your mind.
Texter from the 785 agrees, saying Kelce was second in the league last year in receptions and yards for tight ends. No way he shouldn't be at least in the top 5. You got to change my mind today?
Yeah, change my mind. The MLB put out this schedule so they can show fans what games they could go to next year, just so they can then make the PA be like, look, all these fans are ready to go to games next year. They're excited, but just kidding. You better get it done sooner than later.
It's definitely a bargaining chip. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Eugene Friedman had a really interesting thread about this on social media. He's a union lawyer. Looking at it from that perspective, definitely a bargaining chip by Major League Baseball. But look, the owners need that inventory because they got to get good TV deals.
Yeah,
and they need games to be played. Nobody wants to lose games. And there's a lot of emphasis not to lose games for both sides. So we'll see how it goes. We got headlines. We got Paul Carr to preview the World Cup final on Sunday, and a look ahead to Royals baseball this weekend on the final hour of What Is Wrong with 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with me? Let's get it. Third and final hour of the day, final hour of the week here on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis rocking with you on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. Good to be with you. Good to be dry after another burst of rain passed over our heads here at our Pontoon Hill studios this afternoon.
Yeah, 24 hours ago was when it happened before.
Yeah, and you had your car windows down. We never really followed up on that. Is your car okay?
So I went immediately to the window and was like, yeah, my car's not close enough for me to run out there, and because I'd have to leave the show because I'd be drenched. At that point, I could have just gotten in my car and went home.
It was really raining.
Yeah, so I kind of just let it go. It was only open a crack, but when it stopped raining at like one of the breaks, I went out and rolled the windows up in case it started raining again. Well, I should not have done that. It didn't rain again, but all the humidity was in my car. So
tough.
Well, yeah, I had my sunshade in my windshield. So when I got out to my car and pulled it down, the entire front windshield and the back windshield full on the inside of condensation.
Oh, man.
So I had to roll my windows down and put the defrost on and wait like 5 minutes to leave the office. Not fun.
Doesn't sound
0
like
out
it.
of 10 would recommend.
Nah, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. That's for sure. Anyhow, so today, did you have them up when the rain came through?
Kept them up
Good.
today.
Good. Glad to hear. We learning from our mistakes,
Yes.
learning, growing. That's important to us here on 580 Sports Talk. We got one more hour and change today because we do have some 580 Sports Talk overtime for you. On our overtime conversation of the day, it'll be conversations of the day. We're going to re-rack both our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, and Jeff Bollig, the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. You'll be able to hear those conversations back in case you missed them earlier between 6 and 6:30 ahead of Royals baseball tonight. The Royals return for the start of the second half, the unofficial second half of the regular season. Game 1 of 3 at Kauffman Stadium against the San Diego Padres tonight. 6:30 pregame, 7:10 first pitch. For those of you who would like to watch the Royals tonight but are not subscribed to Royals.tv, you can watch the game on, if you've got an antenna, 13.1 tonight, one of the WIBW TV sub-channels. It's also just Me TV if you can find it on Cox Cable, if you have Cox Cable, but for whatever reason, not the inclusion of Royals TV on Cox. You can find it on Me TV there on Cox. But, game will be on over-the-air television tonight, 13.1. If you've got the antenna, you can punch up the Royals game tonight.
But do you really want to put yourself through that?
Hey, it's been a tough year, but a bad day at a ball game beats a good day just about anywhere else, right? And the Royals tonight can be heard right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Again, pregame at 6:30 in the first pitch. At 7:10, we'll look ahead to the upcoming weekend for the Royals coming up later on this hour. Also this hour, a preview of Sunday's World Cup final with Paul Carr of True Media Sports, soccer researcher for Fox and others, writer for Yahoo Sports during this World Cup, and, of course, former 580 WIBW staffer. Paul will join us here in about 20 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, and we will get his take on the matchup between Spain and Argentina. We'll also get a thought from him about how the United States' World Cup came to an end with that crushing loss to Belgium in the round of 16. So Paul Carr will join us for some final thoughts as we gear up to end the World Cup. I was just thinking about this today. I was talking to my wife. We went out for lunch together. Went to Taco Villa, had a couple of things. We're running out of those days, as you well know, with your significant other also being a teacher. You know, it's nice to, because I don't live far from the studio and we'll often go home for lunch. And it's nice to go home and see my wife, and sometimes we'll go out for lunch, have a little date. That's kind of a fun thing we do during the summer, and we're running out of those opportunities. So we took advantage of one of those today. And I told her, between the World Cup and the golf this weekend, the Open Championship, there's been a lot of midday sports on TV that I can have on in the office. Yeah. And that's really been fun and kind of pleasant. And I'm going to miss it when it's gone. Like, the World Cup's been a blast just to have that daily fix of sports and something different and something, rare once every 4 years. Although, really, we got the Women's World Cup next year. And if you want the United States, you want to watch a World Cup where the United States has won before, check out the women next year. Yeah, dial in for that. So I was telling my wife, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the live sports on TV when the World Cup is over. So Paul Carr will join us here in just a little while. We got some headlines to get to as well. Your thoughts are invited and encouraged. Again, the text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. That is 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Find us on social media. We're on X. We're on Blue Sky. We are today not on Google Plus, which no longer exists. We're not on MySpace. We're not on Tumblr, but we're on X and Blue Sky, so you can find us there.
We're not on Instagram.
We're not on Instagram. We're not a very photogenic
or
bunch.
TikTok.
We're not on TikTok. Maybe we should be on TikTok.
I've thought about putting what we post on the shorts on.
The shorts? Yeah. We gotta get back into making some more shorts.
Because, man, those can get you some followers.
Yes, they can. Yeah, you can definitely game the system a little bit.
Yeah.
And drive your follower count with some short form video. That's what everybody loves these days. Short form video.
The verticals, as they call them.
So, yeah, follow us all across social media. Follow us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. Catch the show if you missed it live. 580WIBW.com, the podcast page. However you interact with the program, we sure appreciate you being a part of things here on 580 Sports Talk.
Shout out to our new followers on Spotify. Looks like we've gained 5 in the last week.
Oh, love that. Go follow us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. Love that. Love to hear it. Let's get to some headlines, shall we?
Not a lot going on, though.
No, it's a slow news day. It's a slow news day. So we're going to go ahead and get into these headlines. Let's start with this. We wondered earlier in the week what the Home Run Derby being on Netflix would mean for the viewership of the event. We have our answer. It was bad. The Home Run Derby drew 5.3 million viewers on Netflix. That is the smallest live audience for that event in 23 years. Not since 2003 has there been less of a live audience for the Home Run Derby, with it being on Netflix for its first year. Meanwhile, Fox got the best All-Star Game ratings since 2018, 8.8 million viewers for the All-Star Game. It remains the most watched of the All-Star events for the 4 major sports.
You know why people tune into that 2018 game?
It was in Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
There were a lot of home runs.
Yeah,
There were a ton of home runs. Like Trevor Story hit a home run for the Rockies. Yeah, there was
I just saw
like 11 home runs in that game.
I saw on my Nats Twitter, the fans were like, yeah, they tune in because it was at Nats Park. I was like,
I think Jake LeBon and I were listening to that game on our way back from Big 12 Media Days, actually. So, from a Big 12 Media Days. Anyway, so very few people, relatively, and the fewest number of people since 2003 watched the Home Run Derby. But these are the numbers Netflix is going to point to show that their experiment was something of a success. Netflix delivered the youngest audience for the skills event since 2014, with a median age of 44.3 years old. It was also the best audience for the Home Run Derby among adults 18 to 34 and 18 to 49 since 2021.
I have a reasoning why.
Because younger people stream stuff.
That younger people have Netflix.
Yes.
Like when I was in college, I lived with Netflix. Like I had to have Netflix. If I didn't have Netflix, I couldn't do anything because there was nothing, like I didn't have live TV in my dorm. So Netflix was the thing.
Sure. No, I think that's the play, and that's why Major League Baseball is probably in the end going to be at least somewhat satisfied with the partnership, because Major League Baseball could use and would like to court a younger audience for some of its events. And in that vein, it was also reported today by John Ourand, veteran sports media reporter, that Netflix is among those interested in seeking the broadcast rights for the World Series. Fox and ESPN are also said to be interested. Fox, of course, has carried the World Series over the last 30 years. ESPN would like to get it. Netflix now also reported as being interested. And, well, what is your interest? Major League Baseball, is it the biggest possible audience? Is it an audience that skews younger? Is it an audience that is more apt to stream? Like, which way?
The only thing I would say, if I was doing this, that the World Series would have to be simulcast in those cities on terrestrial TV.
That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. I would hope that there would be something like that. I don't think you can have the biggest event of the year, because
the playoff finale, be only on streaming.
And that's what you see with the games, the NFL games that are stream only are broadcast over the air.
Your Thursday night football game
in the home market
is in the home market. Yeah.
So and long dispute, quibble for our viewers here in Topeka. We don't quite qualify as being in the Kansas City market, so we don't get it over the air here in Topeka where they do in Lawrence. So one texter from 785 says, put the World Series on all of them. Put it on as many channels as you can. Just disseminate the broadcast as widely, have an over-the-air, have a cable, and have a streaming option, which ESPN could deliver with their partnership with ABC. So maybe that's the way that Major League Baseball gets to have their cake and eat it too.
Is Fox One a thing?
Kind of.
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
We didn't do this as a headline the other day, but this is how far afield the streaming universe is growing. So the Bundesliga is Germany's professional soccer league.
Okay.
And they have had their games streamed for some time on ESPN Plus. Since I can remember, I think since they sold English television rights, like a full package, all the matches have been on ESPN Plus. Well, they will be moving their English language rights will be moved, and their matches will air on either USA, the USA Network, or Fandango. As in the number you used to call to buy movie tickets.
The website.
The website you used to go to buy movie tickets that had an app. And now that app is doing live television, and now that app is where you're going to go to watch German soccer.
So are they between? They're in the middle of negotiations with both?
No, that's done. That's a done deal. It's a $100 million deal. It's done. Now all 300 Bundesliga matches will be on the USA Network or Fandango.
Which USA is now its own thing with whatever other networks because NBC Universal knocked them off, and now they're on Versant or something. Versant. I don't know. It's all confusing.
It is all very confusing. But it's just funny that, like, the phone number you should call, welcome to Fandango. How many tickets would you like to purchase for Attack of the Clones?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow. All right.
I only know Fandango as the website where we pre-bought movie tickets.
Stop. It used to be a phone number. Stop making me feel old and give us a headline.
First headline for me. Let's go to continue with Major League Baseball. AI use in MLB dugouts being restricted. Apparently they use AI in MLB dugouts. I did not know that. It's restricting iPad usage in dugouts to prevent tablets from running artificial intelligence softwares to help make decisions. The tablets have access to video and league provided data. Also included a custom tab where teams could access other programs. The MLB made the custom tabs inaccessible to MLB teams starting Wednesday night when the second half of the season started. The memo, first reported by The Athletic and was obtained by the Associated Press, said, in quote, this is from MLB Executive Vice President of Baseball Ops Morgan Sword, on June 11th to general managers, assistant GMs, and video coordinators. Quote, in many cases, the custom tab had expanded the use of the dugout iPads beyond their originally intended purpose to include recommendations regarding substitutions, pitch calling, and other in-game decisions traditionally made by players and coaches, said in that memo.
The Athletic reporting suggested there were as many as 10 teams who were using AI in that fashion.
So, look, you are the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the highest paid players in that, highest paid people in this position in the world. And you're using AI? I thought we were smarter than this, people.
I could see there being some real problems if you're like a veteran pitcher and all of a sudden you've got your pitching coach and your catcher coming up to you between innings and say, hey, AI says we need to throw more changeups this next inning. AI says
you people are the smartest at baseball. What are you doing?
So teams we have seen recently, the Miami Marlins were the first to try it last year. The Colorado Rockies tried it to start this year, but apparently they've abandoned the practice. But the Marlins were first to do it last year. For all I know, they still are. They were calling pitches from the dugout. They were not having catchers call pitches. They were having somebody call a pitch. Suggest a pitch, essentially. It wasn't pitch calling, it was pitch suggesting. Everybody made sure to know that it was pitch suggesting coming from the dugout. And that makes a lot more sense if teams were implementing that, feeling like, well, maybe if we've got generative AI, it can give us an advantage. But yeah, I just don't see what AI is giving you that you don't have access to from your pregame meetings and all the film study and all the data that's already on hand and like your own lived experience as a baseball player. Like, I don't see the added value there of AI. It feels like one of those things you use because, well, they say AI is the future, so we're going to be on the cutting edge of the future and we're going to use AI. Yeah, is it helping you? Does it work? Are there hallucinations in this AI, ghosts in the machine, like there are in most other iterations of AI? Because AI is not even the most ardent supporters of AI, and we're not that. I'm not that. But even the most ardent supporters of AI would say, yeah, the system can hallucinate. Like there's ghosts in the machine. What do if, all right, we need to come up with a pinch hitter. We need a big hit in the late innings, and it's suggesting that I pinch hit Babe Ruth. Well, what do I do with that? Like, oh, yes, you should go and you should pinch hit one of your relief pitchers who isn't even in uniform right now. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the added value of the AI inclusion could possibly have been beyond, like, these guys are baseball lifers. What don't they know?
Yeah.
I also feel like there are definitely some teams who you could see, like, being all in on AI and that leading to them making bad decisions based on poor AI results, essentially. Like the Giants and their bonehead college baseball ass manager, Tony Vitello. I bet they have had some AI hallucinations this year.
Yeah.
But it also, like on a very serious note, I mentioned the Rockies went into this season as a team that was going to have pitches suggested from the dugout. They quit doing it. And you know who's like lowered his ERA about 2 full runs since they quit doing it? Royal great Michael Lorenzen. So, it's not
coincidence?
That. Maybe not. Maybe Lorenzen's a 30-something who's been in pitching and baseball a long time and knows his stuff better than a machine. Maybe it's one of those. But I thought that was a really interesting story, something to follow moving forward. Let's get to one more headline, taking a look at the Open Championship. Round 2 is in the books, and what a day at Royal Birkdale. Some record-setting rounds. Both Australian Lucas Herbert and American Sam Burns tied the major championship record for lowest score with 62s today. 8 under 62s for both Herbert and Burns. For Herbert, that was enough to shoot him into a 2-shot lead going into the weekend after he was even par through round 1. For Burns, his 62, which included a hole out from the bunker for birdie on 18, shot him 101 spots up the leaderboard to 5 under par for the tournament and 3 back of Herbert. A group 2 shots behind Herbert includes Cameron Young, Ryan Gerard, and Jackson Suber, the round 1 leader, who shot a 1 under 69 today. 3 players at 5 under par: Sam Burns, Siwoo Kim, and Bryson DeChambeau put a pin in that. Big group of players at 4 under include Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Robert McIntyre, and Alex Fitzpatrick. At 3 under are Ludwig Oberg, Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton, among others. At 2 under, Patrick Reed, Adam Scott, Colin Morikawa, and Sungjae Im. At 1 under, Rory McIlroy, who shot a 67 today. Also, Hideki Matsuyama, Patrick Cantlay, Justin Thomas, and others. The group at even par, 8 shots back, includes the likes of Xander Schauffele, Max Homa, Ricky Fowler, and more. 1 over was the cut. Brooks Koepka, Minwoo Lee, Russell Henley, and Keegan Bradley among those who just snuck in right on the number. Those who missed the cut include PGA champion Aaron Rai, Cameron Smith, Justin Rose, U.S. Open champion Wyndham Clark was 3 over and missed the cut. Tom Kim, last week's winner at the Scottish Open, missed the cut. Matt Fitzpatrick, my pick to win the tournament, he missed the cut. Victor Hovland missed the cut. Gary Woodland, unfortunately, missed the cut. Was much better today, a 1 over 71, but that Thursday 78 doomed him to missing the cut. At least he finished better than Jordan Spieth, who went out and shot a 77 today, finished 10 over for the tournament. Only 4 players who completed the first 2 rounds finished worse than Jordan Spieth, who won the Open Championship the last time it was at Royal Birkdale. So, 2-shot lead for Herbert. But wait a minute. Maybe you turned off the coverage on the USA Network earlier today, and you could have sworn it was a 1-shot lead for Herbert over Bryson DeChambeau. Well, Bryson was cheating. Bryson DeChambeau caught himself a 2-shot penalty after the fact, as assessed by the RNA following his second round for allegedly improving his lie in the tall grass before his second shot on the 5th hole. So he hit his tee shot far right on the 5th, and he hit a provisional because he was afraid he wasn't even going to be able to find the ball.
Yeah.
When he found the ball in the native area, he took several high steps, and it appeared that the tall fescue grass behind his ball lay down as a result, giving him a better chance to get his club on the ball. DeChambeau hacked out of the fescue and eventually made a bogey on that par 4 fifth. That score has been changed to a triple bogey 7 after he met with the R&A for over an hour after the round. When his agent, Brett Falkoff, was asked by reporters if DeChambeau would play in the third round, Falkoff said, "We'll see." Yeah, I got something to say to Brett Falkoff, and it sounds a lot like his last name. If he thinks that his guy's not going to play in the third round.
But if he doesn't, that would be the most Bryson thing ever.
It would be, yes, because he is a baby. Bryson is very petulant, and yes, it would be very, very Bryson to take his ball and his long 3D printed clubs and go home. But
who can he call over there to do some YouTube content with tomorrow?
He's not going to do it. He's not going to quit. I watched a lot of the second round coverage today. He's striping it. He's hitting the ball so good. He might win the tournament anyway. Like, he's not going to leave in contention. Like, if it had taken him to, 1 under par and he was 7 back, or 1 over and he had just barely made the cut as a result, okay, maybe then he might have taken his ball and gone home. But, he could really win this thing. He's very much in the hunt in this tournament, even with that 2-shot penalty. I haven't seen the video yet, but one of my buddies who
I kind of saw it, but I didn't watch all of it.
One of my buddies who is a golfer has seen the video and said the move he pulled was clever, but clever when you're playing with your buddies, and not clever when there's 5 cameras on you at all times. And that's kind of slimy. You can trample and get yourself improve your lie when you're just out playing with your buds for fun. This is the Open Championship. You can't really do it. You can't do it. So that's your Open Championship recap. And those are your 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, we're going to preview the World Cup final with our good friend, the guru of minutia, Paul Carr of True Media Sports on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. The World Cup has almost concluded. 2 more matches left to be played. The third place match between France and England on Saturday in Miami, and the championship on Sunday, Argentina and Spain for all the marbles in New York. Here to help us preview it, the Senior Director of Media and Business Operations for True Media Sports, also a soccer researcher for Fox and others, former WIBW staffer, the guru of minutia, Paul Carr. Paul, when we spoke last, you said that World Cups will be remembered by what happens in the semifinals and the finals. By that metric, how memorable were these semifinal matches of this World Cup that saw Spain dismantle France and Argentina with a comeback for the ages to defeat England?
Yeah, Spain-France was a really interesting game. It was a competitive game. I don't know that it was a memorable game, given that one of the goals was a penalty, and France just really never got on track offensively. But, of course, England-Argentina will be a classic, I think, for a long time. I mean, there have been, 4 or 5 real classic games, I'd say, at this tournament, and Argentina's been in almost all of them. But this one will be remembered, I mean, in part because it continues, England hasn't won a major title since the 1966 World Cup, and they've been on the cusp. They made 2 Euros finals in the last few years, but they haven't gotten over the hump, and this just kind of continues that, and that theme will continue until England does win another title. So that's what it's going to be remembered for, almost as much, I think, for the England losing side of it and bunkering in way too early and not just trying to stretch the game out or get another goal or whatever. And of course, if Argentina wins this, that's going to be, one of 4 or 5 great games that they had, and just part of this Messi and Argentina legacy that they continue to build.
Let's talk about the teams participating in Sunday's final, and we'll start with Argentina, the defending World Cup champions, and they have not been convincing in the sense that they have dominated their competition by any stretch. What they are is that meme come to life, that call the ambulance, but not for me meme that's out there. That has been Argentina. They seem to be at their best when they can taste their own blood. They've had dramatic comebacks, as you mentioned, some classics. England, obviously, in the semifinals. Switzerland, Egypt. They have managed to pull off these late winners in all of these matches. So what is it about this team that makes them great late, and how can they get to their best earlier when their best might be required in this championship match?
So, what this reminds me of, and this is obviously very relevant for this audience, they remind me of the Chiefs. Not last year's Chiefs, but the 2 years before that, where, Mahomes and company, especially Mahomes, kind of dragged them to a Super Bowl, and they ended up winning that Super Bowl. And then the year after that, kind of dragged them to a Super Bowl again, and obviously that one didn't work out as well. They got smoked by the Eagles. But, they beat the 49ers in a tight one, and that's kind of what we have here. Lionel Messi is dragging this team along with him. And that's not to denigrate the rest of the team, just like it's not to denigrate the rest of the Chiefs. Chiefs had lots of other good players. Argentina has lots of other good players. They've got this, superstar, one of the greatest of all time, who this team is built around and relies upon. And Argentina is kind of in that boat. And, I'm a numbers guy, and I still can't deny that Argentina just has all these intangibles, the grit, the belief, the team spirit, whatever you want to call it. They have that. And, of course, again, they have really good players to go with it, but their system is not as refined as Spain's is. It's not as it's a little more chaotic, as you can see in all their games, but they've shown the ability, both on the coaching side and the playing side, make a late sub to get certain guys onto the field and to just go for it in a way that teams aren't always willing to do. Not always willing to risk, giving up a goal at the other end when you have to go get a goal yourself. But they've shown the ability and the willingness to do that, and that is what set them apart from, say, an England or even a Norway, who maybe just don't have the guns or don't have the willingness to go after that. They've done what's necessary at every single step, and now they're in the final and on the verge of being the first nation to win 4 straight major tournaments, which has again, never been done before and would be one of the great accomplishments in soccer history.
Paul Carr joining us here on 580 Sports Talk in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, helping us to preview Sunday's World Cup final between Argentina and Spain. The GOAT debate is over, right? There's no, even close second at this point when you consider not only the enormity of Lionel Messi's career in both international and club soccer and the fact that he's won everything, everywhere, but now the fact that he continues to be, at this advanced age in his career, still the best player on the field every time he walks onto it?
Yeah, the only argument I think someone could make against him, it's kind of the Babe Ruth versus, whatever, Barry Bonds type of argument, where there's some element of being the first and laying the foundation and bringing the game along. You want to argue that for Pelé over Messi, I guess you could make it. But, just like any sport, the sport is better now, and so the best players are better now than they were then. And yeah, I mean, Messi had a case to be the greatest like 5 years ago before they ripped off this winning streak of 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup, and now they are on the verge of another one. And he's been able to adapt. And one of the things that makes him great is obviously the longevity. And in that time span, in his career, like Ronaldo has been a similar goal scorer. Like they're pretty close as far as scoring goals. But Messi is also like the best passer, the best chance creator for other players, or in the top 2 or 3 in that same span. He's also one of the best 2 or 3 players at progressing the ball, meaning bringing it up the field, getting into the attacking area. So he's the best, or one of the best 2 or 3 at all of those things. So, that's what puts him above, your Ronaldos and such in the modern era. And then, of course, there's just the winning. I mean, he's won every trophy with Barcelona. He's won trophies with PSG, Inter Miami, et cetera. And now he's on the verge of a 4th major title with Argentina, because that was the knock against him for a while. He hadn't won anything with Argentina. Well, now he's won 2 Copas, a World Cup, and he's in another World Cup final. So I think we can safely retire that one.
The opponent for the Argentines is Spain, and I used the word dismantle earlier in describing their 2-0 win over France in the semifinals. France had come into that semifinal looking like the best team in the tournament with an overpowering attack, and then they just didn't get to play. The best teams, sometimes the best Spanish teams, this is certainly true about, they nullify your participation in the game because they're better at keeping the ball and getting it back from you than any team. And that is what they have been the best at in this tournament. Their dominance is in possession. It's really hard to give up goals when you don't let the other team have the ball and they don't let you have the ball.
Yep. And when they do, because this is a Spain team, and you talked about they were tiki-taka, short passes, all that. When they won 3 straight major titles not long ago. And they've evolved where they can still do that, and they can press you even better. And that's what they've done against France. They're not letting France get out in transition. They likely will try to do the same against Argentina. You look at the names, and even for soccer fans, like these are great players, obviously, but it's not like this is a defensive juggernaut just by looking at who was there. But they know the system. They know when to press. A lot of it, the great defense, is in the midfield, where they're not even letting you get into the attacking part of the field and get shots off. They've given up like about 6 shots a game in the tournament, only 1 goal the entire time. So that's what they're so good at, is not even, it's kind of like, we're not going to, if it's basketball, we're not going to let you get into the paint. We're going to keep you on the outside and force you to take shots from there and get you out of what you really want to do. And that's what they've been able to do the whole tournament. Now, Argentina is the king of like kind of chaos ball. So we'll see if they can disrupt Spain. But, I kind of trust Spain a little more than Argentina, because this is just what they do. They will take it away from you in the midfield. And Argentina has mostly seen teams who have been ceding them the ball, like against England. They had the ball when they needed it, and England was not good at keeping it away from them. And I think Spain, if they get up a goal, they will be good at keeping it away from Argentina. And that's when we'll see if Argentina has a different gear.
Paul Carr is our guest here on the Floating Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, Senior Director of Media and Business Operations for True Media Sports and a soccer researcher for the Fox Network and others, joining us to help preview the World Cup final on Sunday. Spain's best player, in contrast to Argentina, whose best player is approaching 40, is just a teenager, Lamine Yamal. He has maybe not had the most impressive tournament. He was coming in off of an injury, so maybe having to shake off a little bit of ring rust throughout this tournament, but still a brilliant player and a game changer. In what ways will he have to make an impact on the World Cup final for Spain to win?
Yeah, everyone's been kind of waiting for him to do something, and he's done a little bit, but he's still, I think, second in the tournament in successful 1v1s, getting past you with the ball, so he's going to try and do that. I assume Argentina is going to try to essentially kick him and take him out of this game early, get real physical with him. That's kind of what they did against England. It's kind of what they do. So I would expect that to happen from an Argentina perspective. But really then Yamal's just the first step is just don't take yourself out of the game when that happens. Don't try to respond. Argentina is going to goad you on. Don't respond to that. So just kind of from an emotional perspective, he can't do that. Now, he's been in a Euro final, so he's not inexperienced in these major finals, but of course this is a World Cup, which is a different level. But other than that, he's just kind of got to play his game. So don't get thrown off. Keep going at him from a 1v1 perspective. Keep crossing the ball in from the side. Spain doesn't have their other winger. Nico played a few minutes in each game because he's recovering from injury. So that has kind of disrupted the balance of Spain's attack offensively. So if they could get more Nico Williams back, that would help Yamal out, because Argentina can't just totally focus on him. But otherwise, just do what you do, because Argentina's not real great defending the wings. England was able to attack them there. So I would expect Spain to try to find him as an outlet in transition to get up the field. So he should have some real opportunities in this game.
Who's going to win, Paul? And how do you see this match unfolding ultimately? Will it be an Argentina specialty, leaving it late, rallying, scoring a late winner, maybe even leaving it to extra time? Or do you see Spain being able to impose their will on this match, much like they did in the semifinal against France?
Yeah, as much as I, hate from an intangible standpoint, like going against Argentina, it just, it feels like you're betting against the house almost, just the way that Messi and Argentina have seemed inevitable. But Spain is just a much better team, maybe not much better, but a better team top to bottom. And they know what they're doing, and what they do will work almost regardless of how this match plays out. I mentioned if Spain scores early, they will continue to press and not just give Argentina 80% of the possession. If Spain is down a goal, they're comfortable having plenty of the ball and figuring it out, which is kind of what they've done in a lot of games. They've had a couple late winners as well. So I don't think this will look quite like the semifinal, just because Argentina will be better than France at getting through that midfield, fighting through it one way or the other. And they've got again different options off the bench that can help them do that. So I wouldn't expect it to be quite the throttling that Spain put on France, but somewhere between that and just kind of the chaos of England-Argentina semifinal, I think is what we'll see here. So I do think Spain is better and will lift the trophy here.
Paul Carr joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Before we let you go, Paul, we do have to get one final thought on you, from you on the United States' performance in this World Cup. You mentioned it. Round of 16 was par. Well, they made their par, but it was an ugly one. They missed a tap-in birdie for their par here as they were played off the pitch by Belgium in their 4-1 loss in the round of 16. Is this just kind of the United States ceiling in soccer, to be a team that can reach the round of 16, maybe the round of 8 if they get a better draw or a better matchup or just have a better day, but ultimately that's just kind of the cap on where the United States is as a soccer program and as an international team?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've said almost that exact thing in other soccer conversations over the past couple of weeks. Like, the U.S. is a top, 20-ish team in the world, basically. And so, round of 16, again, is always kind of going to be par. It's really hard to make that jump into the top 10. I mean, just look over the last 50 years of soccer, and almost no team has made that jump. Belgium kind of has, but TBD if they'll keep doing it after the end of this golden generation. But yeah, the U.S. is kind of in that bucket, similar to Mexico, similar to Switzerland. Switzerland had gone out in, I think, 3 straight round of 16s, and they got us, a little bit more of a favorable draw here and got into the quarterfinals. They, beat Colombia on penalties, a team a little bit better than them. So to me, there's no shame, no real problem with being kind of where the U.S. is. I mean, there is something just to the American sports DNA where you want to be the best and figure out what's wrong and how can we get better. It's just really hard in soccer. I mean, these teams and nations essentially had like a 100-year head start on the U.S. from a culture standpoint. And the U.S. is getting better. MLS academies are a big part of this, to develop players earlier, develop them in better ways, continue selling them on, making money, et cetera, just kind of joining the rest of the world from a soccer perspective. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with the U.S. being where they are now. Obviously, you want to see them take a step, and you won't have a much better chance than they did at this World Cup. So it's disappointing in that regard. But the U.S. is still in a pretty good spot globally.
Paul Carr is a soccer researcher for the Fox Network and others. He is the Senior Director of Media and Business Operations for True Media Sports. And here on 580 Sports Talk, he is and remains the guru of minutia. Paul, always a pleasure. I know it's been an enjoyable World Cup, and I know I've enjoyed chatting with you about it throughout the event. Thanks so much again for taking the time today.
Thanks, Dan. Enjoy the final.
That is Paul Carr. We're due for a break. When we come back, we'll take a look ahead to the other close to as important matches this weekend on the baseball field between the Royals and the Padres. That's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. $5.50 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. Thanks again to Paul Carr for joining us. Help preview that World Cup final. I think Spain is going to win. I just think they're going to have too much of the ball. But Argentina is just going to try and kick them to death in the first half. And you know what? Worked against England. They kicked them and made them mad and drew some yellow cards and wore them out. Maybe they can do the same to Spain. That's been done in World Cup history before. Tried. When Spain did win their World Cup in 2010, they beat the Netherlands in the final. It was a brutal game. The Netherlands just tried to kick Spain, like physically kick them off of the field. And it didn't quite work. Spain won in extra time. So,
how many breaks are we going to have if this game gets played?
If it gets played in New York and the air quality doesn't improve, they're going to have some pausas de oxygen. They're going to have some oxygen breaks. They might have to have 2 per half. They really might. Yeah. They really might. Hey, more ad revenue for Fox. There is baseball this weekend. There's baseball tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Second half of the Major League Baseball season. Unofficial second half. Actually started last night, the Mets and the Phillies. Everybody else is back to action tonight, including the Royals, who open a series against the San Diego Padres, who went into the break on a bit of a skid. They're down at the 500 mark, 48-48 as they enter play tonight. Royals, of course, 38-59. Seth Lugo on the hill for Kansas City. Michael King, who's got strikeout stuff, pitches for San Diego. The lineup for KC tonight: Carter Jensen will lead off and do the catching, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Jack Caglione in right field. Lane Thomas, auditioning for whoever his next team is going to be, is batting cleanup in center field. Vinny Pasquantino's at first. Salvador Perez is the DH. Michael Massey's at second. Nick Lofton at third. And Isaac Collins in left field. For the Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr. leads off in right field, followed by Jackson Merrill in center field and Xander Bogaerts at short. Manny Machado hitting just .203 on the year, only 33. He's been around forever, but he's not that old.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah. And
him and Bryce Harper, didn't they come in around the same time?
Right around the same time, right around the same age. Yeah, similar kind of vibe there. Machado hits cleanup and plays third. Gavin Sheets is in left field. Royal killer Ty France is at first. Jake Cronenworth is the second baseman. Miguel Andahar DHs, and Luis Campusano does the catching and bats ninth. So that's the thing to watch tonight. How does Ty France torture the Royals some more? He has been a Royal killer his whole career, and I'm sure the Royals were happy to see him get to the National League. But here he is again, Ty France, the Royal killer, taking his hacks against Kansas City tonight. The other thing about this lineup, Carter Jensen basically is the everyday catcher for the Royals now. Like, it's happened. Like, we were calling for that
I'm not
when the season
sad
began.
about it.
No, it had to happen. Like, it was a necessity. And, credit where it's due. The Royals have not, held on too long to Perez behind the plate. Like, they've moved him. He's doing a lot more DHing. And that's what it should be, because Jensen's future is behind the plate for the Royals. It's a 7:10 first pitch tonight, 3:10 tomorrow, 1:10 on Sunday. Royals haven't announced a starter yet for Saturday. Griffin Canning will go for the Padres. Then on Sunday, it'll be Noah Cameron for the Royals, Rocky Gray, Herman Marquez for San Diego.
Yeah, we don't have any up-to-date stuff. Usually Q is speaking to the media, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he didn't today.
Yeah. I was surprised to see a TBD there for the Royals.
Yeah, I mean, I was just double checking right now. Sometimes we hear it pregame, like, "Hey, who's going to go for you tomorrow?"
Like Ann Rodgers might tweet it out or something, but nothing yet. We'll find out, I guess, when y'all do. Anyway, we are going to take one more time out, wrap up regulation time on 580 Sports Talk with a final word after this. Time for a final word for the week on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, give it to me.
Final word for me, man. We are 11 days away from the official start of Chiefs training camp. The 28th, I believe, is the date. And it can't come soon enough, man. I mean, content galore.
Tired of making lists, huh?
Yes, and tired of just speculating on things. Like, we have different spots for different people on our QB list. Time for them to we're getting close to the time for players to show it on the field, and I couldn't be more excited for it.
My final word today is happy birthday to my dad. It is my dad's birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, he might be listening or watching. They like to put the YouTube stream up on their TV when they catch the show here and there. It is my dad's birthday, and I think I say this or some version of this every year when I use the final word to say happy birthday to my dad on my dad's birthday, is that all of this is his fault. My lifelong obsession with sports and desire to make sports a career, and the thought that I had opinions worth hearing and worth saying out loud, 3 hours of them every day. That is, you can blame my dad for that, or you can thank him for that if you're so inclined. But Dad, I love you. I hope you have a great birthday, great weekend, and I hope you got that book I sent you for your birthday. Anyway, hope everybody else has a great weekend too. We got a little 580 Sports Talk overtime coming up. You'll hear from Matt Derrick and Jeff Bollig, the chair of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, before Royals baseball tonight. We're back on Monday. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.